All right, let's dive right into this explainer of the ancient Dantabhumi Sutta. Today, we're uncovering a profound blueprint for mastering our own focus. You know, we live in an era where distraction is practically the default human condition. But believe it or not, over 2 millennia ago, the Buddha laid out a highly structured, step-by-step manual for taking a wild, completely chaotic mind and transforming it into an instrument of absolute, perfect clarity. If you're constantly battling the modern fever of sense pleasures, endless notifications, and just the daily anxieties of life, you've probably wondered if attaining perfect, unbreakable focus is even remotely possible. Is our biology just way too chaotic? Is a perfectly tranquil mind just a myth? Well, this isn't a new question at all. In fact, it's the exact question that kicks off the entire narrative in our source text. So you are definitely not alone in your skepticism. In our source text, Prince Jayasena literally insists to a novice monk that achieving this so-called one-pointedness of mind is absolutely impossible. Now, the prince lived a royal life, completely consumed by thoughts of sense pleasures and always eager in the search for them. When he was told that a diligent person could actually train their mind to perfect focus through renunciation, he simply didn't buy it. No way. He declared it impossible and just walked away. But when the Buddha heard about this interaction, he wasn't surprised in the slightest. The Buddha brilliantly illustrates the prince's doubt with a metaphor. Imagine two friends. One climbs all the way to the top of a great mountain, while the other stays way down at the bottom. The friend at the summit calls down, describing these delightful parks, woods, and pristine ponds. The friend at the bottom yells back, "That's impossible. I don't see any of that." But it's not impossible, right? The friend at the bottom is simply hemmed in, obstructed, and blocked by the mountain itself. The Buddha explains that the prince is exactly like that friend at the bottom, hemmed in by a massive block of ignorance and his deep indulgence in sense pleasures. You just cannot see the pristine vistas of a tamed mind when you're standing at the absolute bottom of a mountain of distraction.
Section 1. Taming the Wild Elephant. So to explain how we actually climb that mountain of focus, the Buddha does something incredibly clever. He maps the literal taming of a wild forest elephant, step by step, directly to the psychological taming of a human mind. And notice how every single physical step used by an elephant tamer represents a specific mental discipline required for enlightenment. It's an exact one-to-one mapping. Let's see how this builds our roadmap for mental mastery.
Section 2. Leaving the forest behind.
The journey actually begins by pulling the wild elephant straight out of its chaotic forest. And this perfectly mirrors the disciple leaving behind their dusty, ordinary life to start their training. Here are the foundational daily steps the Buddha prescribes to tame those wild impulses. First up, you establish morality. Second is sense control, literally guarding the doors of your eyes and ears so that covetousness doesn't flow in. Third, you practice moderation in eating, taking food purely for maintenance. And fourth is vigilance, which means cleansing the mind day and night. This right here is the initial corral for our wild elephant.
Section 3. Tying the mind to the post. Just as a tamer drives a massive post into the ground and ties the elephant to it, the mind also has to be tied down. Because when you first try to focus, your mind is going to thrash and pull. It exhibits these 5 hindrances: coveting distractions, feeling ill will, becoming completely sluggish with torpor, bouncing off the walls with restlessness, or just being paralyzed by doubt. To actually tame the mind, you have to recognize these wild forest behaviors and actively unlearn them. So, here's the really crucial point. These 4 applications of mindfulness, they are the actual ropes binding your mind to the post, subduing your distress, and keeping you on the right path. By intensely contemplating your own physical body, your feelings, your mind, and your mental states, you completely anchor your awareness. The text states these mindfulness applications are literally the ties of the mind, subduing the aspirations and the chaotic fevers of everyday life.
Section 4. Surviving the battlefield.
Now, as the elephant calms down, it's trained to endure the absolute chaos of a battlefield. We're talking deafening drums and flying lances without moving a single muscle. The mind achieves its very own unshakable standing ground through jhana. This is an advanced stage of meditation where all that discursive thinking just entirely fades out. Anguish melts away. You hold your ground on the battlefield, entirely purified by equanimity and completely unbothered by whatever chaos is happening around you.
Section 5. The Royal Elephant.
Once the mind is fully tamed, like purified gold, the training is officially complete. But what does this mind actually see from the summit of that mountain? Well, it gains what are called the 3 knowledges. First, it recollects thousands of past lives. Second, it attains the divine eye, seeing exactly how beings pass away and arise in the present moment. And finally, stretching into eternity, it achieves the destruction of the cankers, severing the cycle of suffering entirely.
By destroying these cankers, these incredibly deep-seated mental defilements of craving sense pleasures, the desire for becoming, and fundamental ignorance, the disciple truly understands anguish and its stopping. They realize that the pure life is wholly fulfilled, and what needed to be done has finally been done. The wild animal within isn't just trained. Its aggressive, chaotic nature is entirely dismantled.
The ultimate real-world benefit of this rigorous training is an utterly unshakable mind that can withstand literally any of life's painful blows, just like a purified royal elephant. The text says this mind can endure heat, cold, hunger, thirst, the biting of gadflies, abusive language, and even severe, deadly physical pain. Because it's been totally purged of all attachment, aversion, and confusion, it no longer suffers from the arrows of the world. It is, finally, tamed.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to really ask yourself, how might applying this ancient blueprint for focus help you conquer the distractions you're facing today? Look, we might not all be aiming for the ultimate cosmic enlightenment described in the Dantabhumi Sutta, but by driving a post into the ground with mindfulness and tying our wildly distracted minds to it, we can absolutely learn to stand our ground against the endless noise of modern life. So what chaotic forest do you need to pull your mind out of today?